Some of you don't really understand the reason behind President Trump's recent intervention in the Christian genocide happening in Nigeria. Many people saw the headline, but very few know the deeper reason why the United States and the world are finally stepping in. Let's start from the beginning. Over the last decade, America has been Nigeria's biggest international security partner. Washington has supplied drones, bomb kits, fighter jet upgrades, and intelligence worth billions of dollars. The idea was simple: help Nigeria defeat Boko Haram and its offshoot, ISWAP. Just this year, the US approved another $346 million arms package for Nigeria. Precision bombs, missiles, and targeting systems meant to strengthen the Air Force. Before that, there was the sale of 12 Super Tucano aircraft worth $500 million delivered under the Trump administration. Add that to years of counterterrorism training, logistics support, and humanitarian funding. On paper, Nigeria should by now have one of the most battle-ready armies in Africa. But what's the result? The killings continue. Entire villages still get wiped out in Plateau, Benue, Kaduna, and Borno. Churches are attacked almost every week. Children are abducted from schools. Farmers can't go to their fields. Soldiers keep dying in ambushes, sometimes because they run out of ammunition. So America is asking the same question many Nigerians have been asking quietly for years. Where is all the money going? Because the United States tracks every dollar it spends. It knows when weapons are delivered, when training is done, and when things don't add up. Intelligence reports show that despite billions invested, Nigeria's security forces remain under-equipped, under-motivated, and deeply compromised. And that's the root of America's frustration. Trump's declaration that Nigeria is a country of particular concern was not only about religion, it was about credibility. Washington is tired of funding what looks like an endless war with no genuine intention to win. When a country keeps receiving military support but still allows terrorists to thrive, it raises suspicion. When attacks follow the same pattern, Christians targeted in their villages, priests kidnapped, worshippers slaughtered in churches, and there's still no serious response, the world begins to wonder whether the violence is being quietly tolerated. That's why Trump's words hit so hard. They are killing record numbers of Christians in Nigeria, and I will not allow that to continue. Those weren't diplomatic words. They were words of anger, frustration from a government that's been watching Nigeria repeat the same cycle for over a decade. And now, America isn't alone. The Canadian Parliament has discussed the killings. British lawmakers have questioned why Nigeria still receives military aid. The European Union has called for independent investigations into attacks that Nigerian authorities call herder-farmer clashes. But let's be honest, how many times can something happen before we stop calling it coincidence? When the victims are repeatedly Christian villages, burned churches, murdered priests, the pattern speaks for itself. The tragedy here is that Nigeria's leaders still act as though these warnings are insults instead of wake-up calls. The official response to every global concern is always the same. They don't understand our security complexities, but the world understands enough to see the truth. The same corruption that destroyed the economy has infected the military. Procurement scandals, ghost soldiers, stolen allowances, even reports of weapons meant for the front lines ending up in the hands of terrorists. That's why the war never ends, because every bullet fired is another contract renewed. Every attack becomes another excuse to demand funding. The war has become an industry, and peace would ruin business. So when America sends weapons worth hundreds of millions and still sees villages burning, The anger is justified. No country, no matter how wealthy, wants to fund failure. And this is where it becomes expository. The US strategy now is shifting. The new aid packages come with strict monitoring clauses, human rights tracking, field audits, and transparent reporting. Washington wants to see evidence that the weapons are used for the right purpose, not for politics or profit. At the same time, discussions are happening in Congress about targeted sanctions, not against Nigeria as a nation, but against individuals, governors, generals, and politicians accused of either enabling the violence or stealing from defense budgets. If that list is activated, travel bans, asset freezes, and visa restrictions could follow. The message is clear. America is no longer willing to bankroll corruption. And that brings us back to the Christian genocide conversation. For years, survivors have been crying out, saying, "They're killing us and the world is silent." Now the world is speaking, and Abuja isn't happy about it. But why would they be? When you've built a system on impunity, accountability feels like an attack. Let's not forget what happened in 2021 when the US first considered putting Nigeria on the country of particular concern list. The Nigerian government lobbied hard to be removed. They promised reforms, new security strategies, new appointments, yet here we are. The killings not only continue, they've spread. So what exactly does the US want? It wants transparency. It wants Nigeria to prove that it's genuinely fighting terrorism, not managing it. It wants accountability for the billions already sent. It wants an end to the excuses that always begin with "we condemn" and end with "we're investigating." And let's be fair, America's concern isn't purely moral, it's strategic. An unstable Nigeria threatens the entire region. The Sahel is already on fire. Mali, Niger, Chad, and extremist networks are growing. If Nigeria falls deeper into chaos, the whole of West Africa becomes vulnerable. That's why Washington is acting tough. Not because it suddenly discovered compassion, but because instability in Nigeria eventually becomes a global problem. But that doesn't change the moral truth. Thousands of Nigerians, mostly innocent civilians, have been killed while those in power debate semantics. Whether it's called terrorism, genocide, or banditry, the result is the same. Human lives lost, families destroyed, a nation bleeding. So yes, the world is fed up, not with Nigeria as a people, but with a government that refuses to protect them. And that's where my opinion comes in. Nigeria's problem is not that it lacks help, it's that it lacks honesty. For every foreign dollar sent, there's someone ready to steal half of it before it reaches the front lines. For every tragedy, there's a press release instead of action. And for every victim, there's an official somewhere insisting it's not as bad as it looks. The world has finally stopped believing those lies. Trump's declaration, Canada's debates, the EU's concern, these are not attacks on Nigeria's image. They are reactions to Nigeria's silence. Because silence in the face of mass murder is not neutrality, it's complicity. So where does this leave us? If Nigeria continues on this path, the consequences won't just be diplomatic. Sanctions could cripple international trade. Military partnerships could be suspended. And the elite who once flew freely around the world may suddenly find themselves grounded, both literally and politically. But there's another possibility, the one most Nigerians hope for, that this global attention forces change. That the government finally wakes up and realizes the world is no longer watching quietly. That the billions meant for defense finally go where they belong, to soldiers, to intelligence, to rebuilding the lives of those left behind. Because at the end of the day, America's anger is not the real story here. The real story is Nigeria's lost humanity, a nation so used to tragedy that it now debates whether a massacre is religious or political instead of asking why it happened at all. This is why the world is losing patience. If Nigeria doesn't change course soon, the pressure from abroad will only intensify. Sanctions will follow, investigations will deepen, and foreign aid will come with stricter conditions. But it shouldn't take foreign threats to make our leaders act. It should take conscience. It should take shame. It should take love for a nation that has already bled enough. The world has done its part. The question now is, will Nigeria finally do hers?